Jazzcast Pros.
For those of you that may be listening or watching, have you ever been concerned about or just fascinated by the justice system? Better yet, have you ever found yourself on the other side of the criminal justice system and thinking, what does the judge really think? Well, listen, we got you today. Here on the Stir 716, we have the
Honorable
Judge James A.W. McLeod with us this evening. Thank you so much,
Yes,
sir, for being in the
yes.
studio with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Welcome to The Stir, the only podcast where education meets conversation.
This is Mrs. T, a.k.a. The Spark, along with co-host The Doc and our cool cousin Kim.
And we're stirring up the issues that matter most: education, housing, healthcare, food, justice, and equity. Grab a pen, grab a cup,
even grab your spoon, because
this is The Stir. A little bit about our distinguished guest. He is a trailblazing jurist who served on the family court, city court, and Erie County court. So he is an amazing judge. He sat on the bench. He is committed to justice, equity, and integrity. He has shaped not only the legal landscape here in Western New York, but also the lives of countless individuals who have appeared before him. Known for his fair but firm approach, Judge McLeod has long been an advocate for addressing racial disparities in the justice system and promoting pathways for rehabilitation. And guess what, for who? Especially for youth and first-time offenders. A respected community leader and educator,
Yes.
and mentor, and his career has been marked by courage, compassion, and an unwavering belief in justice for all. We are truly grateful to have him join us for this powerful conversation today. I am excited. You know what? Sometimes we say we need to get away from titles. We need to stop telling people our titles and go. But let me tell you, some people have earned their titles.
Yes, yes.
Okay, through all of the years that Judge McLeod has been on, even when he was an attorney, as long as he sat on the bench, there was never any craziness going on. There's been no news articles, no
Scandals, yes.
He has been an upright man, and that's why we will call him
Honorable,
Okay,
yes.
honor.
In your honor, yes,
So
sir.
I am just excited. Hey, his name should ring a bell to you, because guess what?
McLeod.
McLeod, that should ring a bell.
Yes.
You know anything about our
History.
Listen, Judge McLeod is the great-nephew
Great-nephew.
of the great,
The great.
legendary Mary McLeod Bethune. So we are sitting among royalty.
Your Honor, we know that in January you made your announcement as running for mayor.
Yes,
And you named economic growth playing an active role in the city's education system and reducing and eliminating red tape for Buffalo businesses as part of your platform for mayor. Can you tell us and our listening audience, if you were mayor today, what would that actually have looked like? Because I believe if that issue is solved, businesses, right? Businesses now made it their burden to build up this city, not just raise awareness in an issue, make it public, right?
Right.
And then have it sit on the shelf, decline, and then bring the issue back up again as if though it's a whole new
Issue, right.
A lot of the problems that we are facing would be solved on the east side and even.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So my question, if you were mayor today, what would Buffalo look like?
You know, one of the things when it comes to businesses and cities really thrive based on the community that exists around it. And to be a good business, you need educated people. First of all, the number of people within the city of Buffalo who would be considered illiterate with reading and writing is astronomical.
Yes.
And being adults. And so what you have is adults who perhaps are not able to help their kids in school because they don't have the skill set to be able to do that.
Right.
And businesses thrive when you have a well-educated city. And so and one of the things that I did when I was on the bench with some of the kids who came into my park, I tried to work with Leadership Buffalo and tried to get members of Leadership Buffalo to take on a young person who was in my courtroom, bring them into their business and mentor them and try to increase their desire to stay in school and get a job. One of the things that I was sort of involved in when I was on the board of Kaleida Health, because health is such an important issue here at the city of Buffalo.
Absolutely.
That the city of Buffalo, that the Kaleida Health would partner with schools that concentrate on health and help these kids, one, graduate, hopefully get them into nursing, have them go into medicine to help and better our health system.
Absolutely.
If businesses were to work more closely with the Buffalo public school system, all the schools within the city of Buffalo, to increase the number of kids who are graduating and graduating with real numbers that show that they have learned something, as opposed to a number, that would then allow them to get into the business in Western New York and enhance that business and make it even better, as opposed to a city that has to bring people from outside the city and bring them in. Folks who are living here aren't going anywhere. So you continue to have these two cities existing at the same time. And so one of the things I would have been doing is to try to blend the two, businesses and the educational system, to help improve the lives of young kids, improve the businesses in the area. Those dollars that would now be coming into the pockets of kids who are really making money are going to improve their home, improve their lifestyle, improve their community. Those sorts of things would begin to create a snowball effect.
Absolutely.
That would really address multiple conditions in the city of Buffalo that need to be addressing them all at the same time. And so it's those sorts of things, and doing it honestly and sincerely, and at the same time, eliminating a lot of the red tape that exists in this city hall.
Yes.
Businesses that come in. I know
Yes.
folks who attempted to start businesses, and you've got to go through
Hoops. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I'm one of them. You know, I get it, because I wanted to start my own practice within a thing, and they're telling me it has to be in one of the corners of Buffalo. You know, it's so hard. You have to jump through, you know.
Jump through hoops, but you're paying, instead of calling it a tax, your individuals and businesses have to spend all this money in an effort to create a business that's going to improve the economic conditions of the city. Why would you
Exactly.
want to do something like that?
Right.
But you have to start having ideas, thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Those are the sorts of things. Take chances. That's the only way it's going to improve, as opposed to doing the same old, and nothing's changed.
Nothing's
And
changed.
it's nothing. Why would you
called
expect anything?
insanity, right?
Well,
But that's why we're still in the same positions that we are in within our communities. And then we want better, but we don't do better. We don't have the resources to
And we
do
have to
better.
be honest about the fiscal mismanagement here in the city of Buffalo.
there's no question.
Absolutely.
You leave the city and then you come into Amherst, Cheektowaga,
Orchard Park.
and you say, "Whoa." I mean, this is my real first time off this far. Right?
Is it?
Look at all this stuff that's out here.
Uh-huh.
These are the folks that you see on the expressway that consists of the thousands of people who are driving in the morning
And coming downtown.
And leaving.
If one half of this or 1/3 of all of this was
Yes.
within the city limits, how much better would Buffalo be? But
Yes.
nobody seems to be doing anything to try to make that sort of thing happen.
And as
I agree. I definitely agree.
poverty is profitable. So people are profiting off of the problems. And if the problems are solved, who's going to make money?
Exactly.
That is
That's it.
an issue.
It is. Be dressed.
Well, you see that.
Yes.
You see that just on the east side of Buffalo now, because the economic conditions have dropped so much that folks who heretofore used to be able to live and survive over there have just packed up and left, and now you have empty lots that others are able to come in and gobble up.
Absolutely.
Whatever they want to do.
Absolutely.
That poverty-created environment is good for somebody, and and they're starting to benefit from it.
Exactly.
I just got to ask you this question because I want to know and I want people to understand what made you get into this work. You came from a small place, Utica, New York. It's even smaller than Buffalo. But what made you want to pursue law that got you all the way to the bench?
As long as I can remember, I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know why.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it was so small. I'd never had any contact with a lawyer. And clearly there were no black lawyers or brown lawyers in Utica. There weren't even any black doctors in Utica. There was one black dentist. But I wanted to be an attorney. I think maybe because I believed it with the chance to help people. And I just went through school. I was fortunate enough to be able to get in law school, and that's what I became.
Yeah, so I am Natasha, a.k.a. The Doc, and I'd like to thank you once again for being on this platform with us. Now, dealing with the youth, there's a lot of changes that are going on, as we can see in the news recently. There's a lot of things going on with the youth, getting into trouble, stealing of vehicles and things like that. And I know some people say that the youth are getting slapped on the wrist when things occur. What do you think about the laws when it pertains to the youth today with all the changes?
Well, first of all, the youth problem isn't new. I mean, it's been around for forever.
There's been an increase.
Well, that's what they say. A reportable increase.
Okay, yes.
What may be reported has increased as opposed to what may have been taking place over the years. And unfortunately, over the years, same thing that happened years ago is taking place now.
Okay.
That there aren't enough programs that are there. We have a lot of young people who have mental health issues. Those mental health issues are caused by a lot of different factors: environment, family life,
Yes.
lack of family life, what's going on around them that adults are engaged in that has an impact on them. And in Western New York, there's a shortage of mental health providers to address those issues, whether it's in school or elsewhere. And kids have been involved in crime, juvenile crime that would constitute a crime if they were an adult for years in family court. And what has happened is that they've really, the only thing that's happened is that they've reduced the age by which you can charge a young person with an adult crime. You can still be arrested and charged with an offense that would have them in what's called the youth part of court. It's in the adult buildings, but they're handled by specialized judges.
Okay.
Then you still have those kids who maybe child is charged as juvenile delinquent, juvenile offenders, persons in need of supervision still in the family court. But again, what you've got is get them over into the courts, and the judges can only do so much. And just like in the past, where there's a need for neighborhood involvement, there's a need for parental involvement, there's a need for family involvement. And in too many instances, you find that when I was growing up, me and my friend, I don't think any of us ever found ourselves in a family court because our parents and our neighbors,
That's right.
they took care of us.
Yeah, the village.
And so there was a consequence of our action, and they stopped it. And so you had a neighborhood, a block, a neighborhood in general that stepped in even when a parent wasn't there. And these problems didn't blow up to the extent that they've blown up with now. Now you've got, unfortunately, in too many instances, families and parents who have issues, and they think the judge and the court is supposed to correct it.
Right. I agree.
I remember when I was on the bench, people would say, well, unfortunately, this child never lived in my house. Because if he or she had, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
But, so you've got to step up to the plate.
Absolutely.
And so when you hear these conversations, too many times people are afraid to say that there's a need for more involvement by family and relatives in the lives of these young people. And I think if that were to happen, some of the issues, or a good portion of the issues that we're dealing with, would be reduced or eliminated.
I agree.
And I think one of the points that you made when you were talking about having the support is that village. We've lost
that village,
lost sense of community and village. It's something I think that we can possibly work to get back.
Right.
But the problem may be is that it almost seems like it's so far gone. Like,
but
people don't know our neighbors. People don't don't spend time collectively as a people, as a community together.
Right.
What do you think needs to happen? Or what do you suggest to people to do who have youngsters, who have, young men or, young ladies in their homes who are teenagers who are really searching for mentorship, but there's no one really to fill the gap?
Well, that's where the community comes in. Fraternities, sororities, neighborhood block clubs have got to increase their outreach to include not just things for adults, but include things for kids. They need to, in many instances, concentrate on what do we need to do to address the problems with our youth. Because when we can address the problems with the youth, then some of the problems that we as adults are having would disappear as well. And we wouldn't have the consternation that exists within the communities. I don't think we'd have, the violence that's there. We have a generation today, unfortunately, that thinks that every situation needs to be addressed with the use of some form of violence, because if they don't engage in that, then someone's going to look at them differently. As opposed to somebody telling them, an adult or a family member, a brother, older brother, sister, whatever, telling them that's not what you should be looking for. That's not what you need. Those words of encouragement, those words of, you don't need to do that. Why don't you do this? Those words were, come here and we'll help you. Come into this community center to help you. One of the other things too, if you look around at the city of Buffalo, and I drive around, well, when I'm going places, I look and say, that doesn't make much sense. If you think about, again, when we were growing up, we didn't have much. We made use of things that we had to entertain ourselves.
Yes. That's true.
There were parks that you could go to do things. If you look, recreational place, if you look on the east side of Buffalo, it's okay, well, how many parks would you say exist on the east side of Buffalo, from Main Street to Bailey, from Michigan and Maine or Jefferson and Maine down to William Street? You'd have to shake your head, and or you look at these parks.
Yes.
You drive by and you look at the conditions and say, I don't even want to go.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You have, or right next to the park, where they may have cut the grass, right next to it, you've got weeds that are 10 feet tall.
Yes.
You have no clue as to who's lurking in them.
Exactly.
And as a result of that, you see folks walk sidewalks that may be in good condition, and I qualify it by may.
Yeah.
But a lot of people walking to the street because they're afraid to walk
Walking
the
sidewalk.
Because what's next to the sidewalk, they don't know what or who may jump out to do something.
Exactly. It's a different environment.
And you go into other parts of the city and you don't see those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
You see swimming pools. You see playgrounds.
Yes.
Playgrounds that have something other than a basketball court. You go to look at you look on the east side of Buffalo.
So true.
It's a basketball court. Okay. So black kids don't play baseball. Black kids don't play soccer. Black kids don't play tennis. Black kids.
Yes.
Why is that? And again,
That's
there
true.
aren't those kinds of discussions that are taking place and those needs that aren't being provided. And as a result, they talk about what the kids aren't doing, but they don't whisper about what they as adults aren't doing.
Absolutely. The accountability.
That's
Got to increase to a loud voice that say, we're in this together, and unless you're going to be a part of the solution, don't say anything at all.
Absolutely.
We're in this together. That's so important because, in my opinion, I think we have focused ever since the Civil Rights Act of 1965. We focused solely on integration rather than really making sure that we had a sustainability plan once we integrated.
Right.
You ever been asked what's your zip code? And your zip code
Absolutely.
for your zoning improvement plan.
Right.
What is the zoning improvement plan for the east side of Buffalo? And even just talking about community and youth in the criminal justice system, statistics said that 40% of those that are incarcerated return back to jail. Right?
Yeah, recidivism.
The rates of recidivism
High.
really high. And especially, it's a known fact that African Americans receive harsher sentences than whites. I would like to ask you, Your Honor, when you're on the bench, how do you take stats like this into effect into your decision making? And you mentioned it's only but so much that a judge can do. What are some ways that re-entry and reducing the rates of recidivism can be achieved? And you did touch a little bit on it just now in your explanation, but especially as it pertains to the zone and improvement plan for these youth in the community.
Well, part of the problem is as you look out from the bench and trying to figure out where you can send someone and what you can have them engage in, try to rectify the problem. And then you look at the neighborhood, an area that they might be living in. Part of the problem is you recognize, unfortunately, there's nothing over there to engage these kids in that's going to help them. You've got community centers that are closed.
I think they just sold them for $1 to...
Well, who knows what they're doing with them. I remember William Street, Jefferson, Fillmore, Bailey with the William Emsley YMCA. One of the things that I did there, I should say I did there, but I did it in conjunction with a good friend of mine by the name of Arlie Daniels. He passed a few years ago. We created a GED program down there because a lot of these kids that we find in court, or not just me, but I'm sure in almost any court you go into, that there's a direct correlation between the lack of education with an individual kid.
Yes, absolutely.
In criminal activity. One of the things that I did was, as a condition of release, while a case was pending in front of me, one of the conditions was that you had to go to school. If you were being suspended or you were skipping school, that was going to change. Because if that didn't change, then, well, we'd have to put you someplace where you would have someone come to you every day, opening the door to give you that educational piece. So,
What's that place called?
JL, I think.
Yeah, JL. Yeah.
I worked that out. I worked with every high school in the city of Buffalo, every principal with all these high schools. I physically went to each one to deal with meet with the principals, meet with the assistant principals, meet with the guidance counselors to say if there were kids in your school who found themselves in front of me, I needed you to give me reports on them. And I knew for the most part, they were either problems in school and classes or they weren't attending. So those things could be addressed.
Right.
In addition to that, what I tried to do is to link them up with community-based programs while they were either out on bail or as a condition of whatever sentence it is that they were supposed to engage in. I tried to link them up with churches. I'm a firm believer if there was some sort of religious connection, that was a factor that would improve the conditions of children. I'm not there to force religion down their throat or to say you're going to become a Baptist or a Protestant.
Right.
No, I just want you to get involved with these churches and with these individuals in the churches who probably had something to offer to your life experiences or something like that. I reached out to do that not only in Buffalo, but also over in Niagara Falls would do that. There were problems as I reached out to the churches that in a lot of instances, no one was reaching back. And so, I mean, and I firmly believe that I know it's not a question of believing, but you can go to Buffalo, you're going to find a church within the 2-block.
Yes, absolutely. Every corner.
And so opening those doors and creating those sort of relationships with kids in the neighborhood, I firmly believe would be things that would help. So I'd have that educational piece. I'd have that community organization piece, if there was one that was there. I'd have that mentor piece. I reached out to organizations with men and women, asking them to come in and be mentored, sort of literally like adopt a kid to work with him or her. And it was those sorts of things that I would do to try to stop a youngster from coming back. And most of the time, with the young people that I dealt with, they didn't come back, or they didn't come back as frequently as they would have been. And there were times, even now, somebody comes up to me and reminds me, even though I don't remember them, that they had been in my course. Something happened. I was at a restaurant a few weeks ago with someone who was a board member for Stop the Violence, and we were there. And this young Latino kid, I'm there. He must have recognized my voice, and he came over and said, "You're Judge McLeod." I says, "Yeah." He says, "I want to thank you because you turned my life around." And he
wow.
said that. Just got up from wherever he was. I don't know where. Came over, said that, and then left. And the guy across from me was like, "Whoa!" But that's the sort of thing that I was able to accomplish. And other judges can accomplish it too, if indeed they want to do something other than come into the building, sit on the bench for a few hours, get this great paycheck, and then go home.
And go home.
And I think if more people in positions like that engage to the same extent or somewhat to that same extent, we would dramatically reduce the number of young people who find themselves in court coming back to court.
And this is why representation matters, because I think what makes you different, Your Honor, is that your representation and your heart and your background, right? Because when you you do a root cause analysis or just look at the genesis of the incarcerations, Mass Incarceration is a book by Michelle Alexander. It talks about the new Jim Crow and mass incarceration.
Right. Yes, right. We got you. We know what you mean.
To do and follow what you have been doing as an archetype, as a prototype. But it comes down to a matter of the heart. And now becomes a heart issue. Do you want to have perpetual racism and institutionalized racism, or do you really want to cause a change here? It's interesting how you mentioned churches weren't getting back to you, because when you look at even prison, right? The penitentiary, the penance, it was started by the Catholic Church. You would go and you would pay your penance as a way to reflect and talk to God and think about what you have done.
Right.
But we've seen over the turn of decades and centuries and the years that incarceration is not rehabilitation. And in fact, the rehabilitation happens in ways and platforms and formats in which you just mentioned. So I wanted to just make that point there for those that are listening. You might be a judge, you might be an attorney, an aspiring attorney. Ask yourself, why do you want to get into the work that you are getting into?
Yes.
What are the reasons? What's the catalyst for change?
Right.
What impact are you looking to have?
Yeah. And you mentioned when you talked about mental health providers, because I am a mental health provider, and I agree with you. There's not too many that look like us to provide the care. And I do agree. Past traumas have definitely attributed to a lot of what's going on. And what happened is that it just keeps going on and going on and going on, because we all heard that old saying, what happens in this house stays in this house. But what has happened is that once something exacerbates or sparks something from the past, it's reactive. And like you were saying, that these kids need to know every action doesn't need a reaction to it. There's other way to problem solve. Unfortunately, just occurred last night where you had individuals in a restaurant to the point where there's pepper spray being involved, right, in a restaurant. And it's a reaction to what? Well, you guys could have had a discussion or found another way to resolve whatever is going on. And I think that's the problem. Nobody gives the mentorship, and they don't have enough people that look like them to really engage with them. Because what I do see from a lot of the youth and adults as well, things that occurred in their childhood affects them in their adulthood, and don't realize you're passing that on generation after generation after generation because nobody addresses it. And sometimes it comes out in a volatile way where they end up in the justice system.
I'm glad you brought up the word generation, because what you see, you have served on the bench both at in family court, city court, county court. You have seen many things for some time. I want to ask you, what did you see that was different when you first sat on the bench, that it just changed, like the longer that you were on the bench, in regards to, how we interact with each other? Like, have you seen, like, is it just a different type of young people that are,
The generation.
And I'm sure it changes, right? But I mean, what like shocked you the most?
Two things. One, the increasing lack of respect that young people had for the adult who was responsible for them.
Absolutely.
Saying things to the parents or to the grandparents or something like that, that if I were to even think about that now, my mother, who's been gone for many, many years, I still duck. Because that doesn't exist anymore. And it's like,
right.
Who's running? The question as to who's running the household was shown to me. It ain't the parent.
Right.
It's the kid that's running the
household.
And then you're wondering why the kid is here. Or you realize that this kid doesn't stand a chance. That's changed. When I was a defense lawyer, I represented some pretty serious characters out there.
Okay.
But
I like that.
But the respect that they had for the system and for whoever the parent or grandparent was, or aunt and uncle who was raising them, was clearly evident. Okay. Now, in too many instances, it's not. You go into court and you rarely see a kid may come in and the only person with them is posse. Or his girlfriend or a boyfriend. There's no parent. Too many times young people in jail and somebody's calling about their bail. It's not a parent anymore. It's the girls, and the girls have unfortunately given themselves over to self-control by these young men who you're looking to say.
You would think that would be the escape route. He behind bars.
Right. Right.
He does nothing. I've had cases where young girls have come in and they, what was the bail for such and such? Well, why I want to post the bill? Well, what do you do? I work McDonald's. You have who lives with you? Well, me and my baby. And I'm saying, you've got a child, and you want to post bail for him, and he has nothing. Those sorts of things have changed with the passage of time.
Right. That really is a microcosm of what we're seeing everywhere.
Yeah.
So being in the school system, I can tell you that same disrespect that you said that those young people have towards their parents is what they have towards teachers, administrators in the building. And I mean, cursing all day long, and not cursing around, but cursing at adults.
Yes.
I mean, it is just a lack of disrespect. And it's almost, it takes you aback. If you've never seen it before, you almost think like, is this bizarro world.
But you also have parents. So I would tell you a situation. There was a student some years ago. I was substitute teaching, and the student was cursing up a storm, cursing it. Here, call my mother. They don't have the fear anymore of you calling the mother. When we were in school, if our parents had to be called from work, we knew we were going to get it when we got home, right? We just didn't want the teachers to call our parents. Now they give you the phone to call. Anyway, she's cursing. So the mother comes in. I don't know why she's cursing this and the third. She takes the girl out in the hallway and she's cursing at the young lady. And I'm thinking, well, what do you mean? You don't know why she's cursing. Look how you're talking to her. And then you're expecting her to come into school and have that same respect towards someone else. You're not teaching her anything different at home.
Both of you mentioned something that I want to now ask your Honor question and pivot a little bit and talk about the adults, right? Because we look a lot of times at the children, but they are a product of their environment.
Absolutely.
And so when we look at the parent and we look at the environment and we consider those social determinants of health, right? So access to affordable housing, right? Quality education,
food,
even upward mobility,
food,
fresh fruits and vegetables, food insecurity, food deserts, right?
Right.
You look at the pressures and even seeing, I believe it was Forbes magazine that rated Buffalo the number 3 poorest place in the world, right? And so when we look at poverty and we look at crime, you're going to always see that parents are either absent from the home, working too much, right? The children are now cooking. They're becoming the care providers. So then that's where the disrespect also comes. I'm not saying that it's valid, but that's where the disrespect comes in. We want to hear from you, whether you agree with the judge, you disagree with the judge, whether you've been involved in the criminal justice system. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. If you are a Buffalonian, part of the Bills Mafia, and you have a solution on how we can address a lot of the issues, the disparities, the comorbidities that are existing in our city as a whole, as the Queen City. We want to know. We want to hear from you.
Right. And also, if you have any comments or questions that you want us to forward on to Honorable Judge McLeod, let us know. Also, we have somebody that's involved in the community. We can always give ideas or suggestions. The platform is open. Give your suggestions, your opinions, whatever, questions to let us know. We can always pass them on to the individuals that you see on our show.
I just want to, I know with the close, I always like to ask our guests kind of just a question, no right or wrong answer, but I want to ask you, you had such an awesome legacy. Before we started talking on the podcast, you mentioned about there being less Black attorneys and judges that we see now than less now than even before, when you would have thought before it would be less and now there's more here in Buffalo and Western New York. I'm not sure if that's the case all over the country, but what would be your message to young Black students who are thinking about a career in law or being an attorney or being a judge? And what would you share with them and tell them a word of encouragement or a suggestion?
What can be done? There are more judges now, Black judges, than there were before, but there are fewer practicing attorneys than that existed before. But even then, when I started out, there was a camaraderie that existed between all of the lawyers and the judges. I mean, the Simses, the Greens, the Perks. There was that relationship that was there. That's what's missing. The opportunity is great. The practice of law, I must admit, the practice of law has been great to me, and it's something that I've really enjoyed doing. And my colleagues the same way. If you want to go to law school, you're going to have to work your butt off. There's no question about it, but it can be done. If you're interested in the law, but think you may not be able to get into law school, become a paralegal. There's things to do. And or what you can do is reach out to lawyers and judges and say, hey, can I just shadow you? Just to see what you do, how you do it, to see if it is indeed something that you're interested in becoming. Go down to the courthouse and watch. It's interesting when people come into the courtroom, judges can tell who should be and who shouldn't be there. Think, who is that person? Why are they here? They'll act differently, but it's
yes,
phenomenal.
yeah.
Especially other judges, they notice a difference. But go in, you can watch what's going on, and judges are willing to talk to you and answer whatever questions you have. But it's a great profession,
Good.
and the need is there.
I'm glad you let us know, because I wish I would have known that when I was first thinking about going to law school. I don't think many people know that they can go. They know they can go and sit and watch, but actually speak or shadow. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that they can do that. So that is definitely great to know.
The top of our minds, we want to thank you so much for coming on the show and spending some time with the Stir 716.
Right.
It has been
Honor. Definitely.
Miss episode 5 because 9/11 is coming up and we have a very
Special guest for 9/11. Yes. Yes.
Exciting. So don't forget that this is the only place where education meets
conversation.
And we will see you next time on the Stir
716.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good afternoon.
And good morning. Whatever's going on.
Thank you, John.
This is Mrs. T, aka The Spark, along with co-host The Doc and our cool cousin Kim. Subscribe to the Stir 716 on the Jazzcast Pros Network, available on all major platforms. New episodes released the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And remember, the Stir 716, where education meets conversation.